Shalom everyone, you're all here again for HebrewInIsrael.net. I'm really glad you joined me again. And this time I actually want to go back to the subject of Hebrew. It's been a very, very long while since I spoke about these things. I got sucked into different discussions. For example, I actually still have this video about polygamy, which I made, and I actually want to remake because I've been involved in several very interesting discussions, and I actually got some perspective from other people as well. So I kind of want to redo that video, so it's going to still wait. I also know it's a very hot topic, and I think some people do want to hear my opinion about this. And people also, I think there's also need for some correction about it. But in any case, this week I actually want to go into Hebrew again. And one of the very interesting things that came up throughout the years was the very bad influence of modern Hebrew on the way people teach biblical Hebrew. This is specifically about the phonetics of biblical Hebrew, or the phonetics of older Hebrew. Now, anyone who follows any of the material I've ever put up knows that I made a bunch of videos about demystifying Hebrew, and I spoke about some sounds, consonants, which are a little different. However, I think it's important that I bring this subject up again, because I think that no matter what you do, people are going to continue believing certain ideas, and people are going to continue teaching certain things without really knowing any of the corrections about them. I think a major problem about this is the fact that a lot of teachers out there are not people who study historical Hebrew, and a lot of teachers out there are really trying to manage around things that they can't really pronounce. So really, without putting anyone down, and obviously it's not really my point ever, there actually are several consonants which people teach incorrectly. First consonant, surprisingly enough, is the letter Aleph. Very commonly I hear the idea that Aleph really has no sound, and Aleph is a non-existent consonant, and it really is a conduit to the vowel points. First of all, historically speaking, this is completely incorrect. Aleph by itself has features that indicate that it actually had a very, very specific sound. However, that sound weakened throughout time. It is a very well-known fact about Semitic languages, and especially, for example, northeastern Semitic languages, specifically Assyrian and basically anything that comes with the Akkadian family, that they actually lose their gutturals. Aleph is considered to be a guttural, and what happens sometimes, and this also, by the way, happened with the Samaritans as well, certain consonants kind of vanish. The people stop pronouncing them. Very commonly, for example, the letter chet or chet, depends which area you come from. And again, I'll sound it to the microphone, chet versus chet. So one sounds like a slightly looser way of pronouncing it. The other one is a harsher one, more like the Spanish J. And even that has a background of its own, but that's really going into some really deep stuff sometimes about phonetics. But the thing is that Aleph actually originally had its own sound. We're not too sure exactly how to reconstruct it, but there are several things about the Aleph that you actually do hear to this very day in Hebrew. First of all, it has a tendency to elongate certain sounds. Like, for example, when you say the word bereshit, you don't say breshit, you don't say bereshit, or so. It's very difficult to pronounce without it. It's really bereshit. There's a bit of, I'm kind of slightly exaggerating it, but there's a slight elongation there of the because of the presence of the Aleph. Another thing that's very important is the fact that Aleph continuously survives morphological changes. Unlike, for example, other weak sounds in Hebrew that tend to drop, like hey or nun, Aleph consistently stays there, which is most linguists understand this as being a sign that Aleph actually had a very, very specific sound to it. So when people tell you Aleph doesn't really have a sound, it's not true. The theory is that the Aleph was pronounced maybe something like a very rough sound, maybe something that comes from putting a lot of pressure from your diaphragm, something like in the area of like an or something like that. Obviously, we don't have recordings of people from back then, therefore it is very, very difficult to reconstruct this. Another consonant which really surprises me that people make this claim is the letter Ayin. Ayin is a very, very guttural sound. It's almost as if you're choking yourself when you use it. You kind of expand and then squeeze inside your throat. And I've actually met people who were told by whomever it might have been that Ayin doesn't have a sound. It's actually pronounced as an oh. So it's a very absurd sound again. Oh. And it's just weird that people teach this, because this is actually a very well-known thing. Another consonant that people have a lot of difficulty with is the letter he. It's actually really funny, because I actually see this a lot, that people don't know when to sound a he, and it's really just it's just a sound like a that's it. It's really all it is. And I think because it's such a simple sound, people tend to skip it. Almost sound like an Aleph. So again, depends who the teacher is, depends where they came from, and so on. It is not uncommon for people to make mistakes like this. People come from different ways of pronouncing Hebrew. However, if we're talking about reconstructing biblical Hebrew, trying to reconstruct the sounds of ancient Hebrew, then the answer is anyone who teaches that these consonants have no sound or that they corrupt what these sounds are need to be corrected. Okay, so again, it's a very simple matter. It's a very simple subject. It's something that came up quite a few times when I teach. Students of mine told me that they heard from here, heard from there. So I thought it would be time to kind of bring this up again and explain why this understanding is incorrect. So once again, if you enjoyed this video, if you found this video helpful, don't forget to click the like, don't forget to share, don't forget to go to my Facebook page. I know a lot of people here already know about the Facebook page, but I recommend going and checking every once in a while. I actually ran a test this week, and besides, several people I think were offended by the test that I ran, and I apologize. I mean, I don't really have to apologize about this because it was just to see if the posts actually show up on your feed, because sometimes people just tell me this, we haven't heard anything from you for months. So it was a test. If anyone was offended, I do apologize, but it was never there to point at fingers or say anything. It was just really me just seeing this Facebook really blocking what I'm putting up. Don't forget to go visit HebrewInIsrael.net. And if you have any specific questions, any subjects you want me to talk about, please feel comfortable to email me at HebrewInIsrael@gmail.com. Kol Tov.